Okay, so this is going to be a video demonstrating this new technique, or not really technique, but a way to load the Faron region during Back in Time. So what's essentially going to happen here is I'm going to take the Ruby tablet, which I currently have on this file, file 1, and I'm going to load it in Back in Time so that I can start the cutscene of the Elden Light Pillar appearing, and I'm going to apply that cutscene to file 3 here. Sort of in a similar fashion to doing RBM, except it's not really the same as RBM. It's weird to explain, but anyway, and then once we have the Elden region open on file 3 here, file 3 is saved before we've even rescued our Loftwing. So, like, we can't fly on file 3, but due to special properties of how the sky works in this game, this is going to allow us to access Faron in Back in Time once we have the Elden Light Pillar applied on file 3. Alright, so we're going to start just by doing Back in Time on file 2. This is just a typical file that we would use for bit magic in regular any percent, at least for like the first hour of the run now. The run's probably going to drastically change because of this. Anyway, so we'll start Back in Time here. So for early Light Pillar, the way that we've always done early Light Pillar in the past is we've always started a file so that the whole cutscene of the Light Pillar appearing would get applied to the file that we selected, but that's actually not necessary to do. You can simply just start the file that you want to apply the Light Pillar to as the value changes, just like we do with regular RBM stuff, except this is a story flag, not a scene flag. So I picked up that stamina fruit to load the Ruby tablet in Back in Time, which I haven't placed yet on this file. Now I'm going to Skyward strike the goddess pedestal here, and then also just load up file 3 real quick, so that the pedestal will actually rise up, and we'll see that it actually has the Emerald Tablet already in it. And so now we'll be able to place the Ruby Tablet here into the thing. I forget what to call it. And then this is going to start the cutscene of the ball of light flying out of the goddess statue and going towards the sky, while we're still in Back in Time. Alright, so we just have to start file 3 at a kind of precise time right here, after the camera changes. And then we'll see that once we start file 3, this is saved at the cave statue, normally when we would be here before rescuing our Loftwing, but we can see that the Elden Pillar is now applied to this file. And we don't have the Faron Pillar up yet either, because on this file we haven't even saved our Loftwing. So yeah, it's a bit of a sequence break. And we just have to go through these cutscenes here. It is kind of a long process to do this, but the ultimate goal of this is to just apply the the flag for the Elden Light Pillar on this file when it's at a specific point, but we haven't reached that point yet, because the point that we want to get to is the save prompt after the Loftwing tutorial with Zelda here. Because this is what will allow us to enter Faron in Back in Time, even though it's the Elden Light Pillar. Again, it's kind of weird, but it'll make sense later. It doesn't help us on this specific file to, have the Elden Pillar open early, but we specifically need to do this with the Elden Pillar because during this part of the game, the first time we're in the sky during this tutorial with Zelda, we're blocked off from really trying to go anywhere. As we can see, I'm flying forward, but, nothing's really happening. I'm not moving towards that zipper right there. But the Elden Light Pillar is actually within the bounds here, because obviously the game's not expecting you to be able to go to it early. So that's kind of what we're going to be taking advantage of when we load this up in Back in Time. So I just gotta go through the tutorial here. And then after this, we're going to get a save prompt. So we will save the game. And so we need to specifically have our Loftwing rescued, but we do not want to have the hero's tunic yet. So that save prompt is just, you know, a convenient area where we've rescued our Loftwing, but we don't have the hero's tunic and we haven't placed the Emerald Tablet. So now that we have the Elden Light Pillar on our third file, we're going to do Back in Time again, and we're essentially going to fly into the Elden Light Pillar in Back in Time now. We specifically need to set up the file like this because otherwise the game will crash when we normally try to go to the sky and Back in Time. Alright, so the first thing that we need to do here is we need to load our Loftwing into Back in Time, or rather the fact that we can call our Loftwing, and this is easy to do. We just want to select file 3 and then save at the statue. Any statue will work, I think, but Bazaar is just most convenient. So now we're able to call our Loftwing, and we can jump off into the sky. Nothing's going to load at first because we don't have the hero's tunic on, so the game's not going to load us into the regular sky. It's going to load us back into the Loftwing tutorial once we hit the loading zone, which is over here. But it'll also load in the fact that we can go to the Elden Pillar over here. As long as we don't, you know, advance through the tutorial far enough. We can just leave Zelda's text on the screen. So, unfortunately, we also don't have the ability to use the zippers because they're all blocked off by the constraints of where we're allowed to go and whatnot. But we'll just continue gliding along here. Eventually, we'll reach the pillar. And there we go. Alright, so even though this is Elden, the very first time you jump into any light pillar in the game will just kind of force you to go to Faron. As we can see down here, there's green at the bottom, indicating that we're flying into Faron. And by some miracle, Back in Time does not crash when attempting to load Faron like this. Because I loaded it after having selected file 2, this is actually the state that the sealed grounds would be in should we have come in here on file 2, which is why it's like this. So we can actually select file 2 to get rid of the lock here. Then we can re-put it back on with file 1. And this will allow us to get into the sealed temple, of course. So, yeah, this is just, you know, a demonstration of what we can do now, taking Back in Time into the Faron region and potentially the Elden region also. We have to do more testing, though. But, yeah, this should hopefully shake things up even more. I guess let's do a new bit warp location as an example. Because now that we have access to these other save statues, we can do bit warps at vastly more coordinates now. And all the sealed ground coordinates are really high, so this will hopefully be pretty useful. Wow, we're really high up. Okay. Anyway, yeah, so that's how we load Back in Time, or that's how we load Faron into Back in Time. And yeah, let's see where this takes us.